Greetings, everyone. Welcome to my sketchbook. Sometimes I just like to sit down and draw and not really pick anything in particular to do so. Before I do that, though, I found this. This is kind of neat. This is a Spider-Mobile. I mean, how interesting is that? That's based on a dune buggy, kind of like the Manx dune buggy. Anyway, just something kind of neat. So I have my trusty pen. I'm just going to kind of scratch down a doodle of sorts and see where it goes. So we'll kind of go to that distance, I think. Sometimes I like to start with the eyes. Since I'm not pre-penciled or anything like that, it's just gives me something to focus on. So let's see what happens. Hope your day is going well. I hope you're having great adventures. I think it's necessary, well, to have adventures. Maybe plan on some adventures, or even better, once in a while, just find yourself out and about and not really worrying too much about getting lost. Keep track of which direction you're going because, well, after a bit you can go back the way you came, usually. I don't know where this face is going. I mean, I can kind of make it happy if I need to. I can turn up the mouth just a little bit like that. That changes the look of everything. Hmm. It happens that every once in a while you can stumble into something. Speaking of adventures. And I think it suits most of us to not have a perfect plan. Just being prepared for when things go a little bit askew, kind of like the nose of whatever's going on here. Hmm. Now I wonder too, if you ever get a chance to go along with someone else's adventure. That seems interesting. Let someone else drive. Now, I think control is this strange thing that a lot of us want to have. In truth, we very rarely get control. You can't control everything around you, like the weather, for example. It's not something you can control. You can make sure that you have rain gear with you, an umbrella. You can make sure that you have a sweater. That you can control. But I wonder about just sort of being open to that sort of thing. I'm going to dip the pen here. Sometimes I need to hear music, and sometimes it just sort of shows up. I'm not really looking for certain things, but it happens. Now I'm kind of building out a bit of a face here, I think. There's a familiarity, I think, that I'm just kind of going for. I don't know if this is someone in particular I know, or met, or seen somewhere, if that's possible. Huh. Perhaps the wind is carrying a little bit of these strands of hair. Okay, well, let's let that happen then. Instead of this earring being straight down, we'll have to assume it has weight because it didn't move with the hair. Perhaps this is a gentle breeze, and perhaps this earring already swung forward, now it's shifted back. The top part of the skull should get to about here. Sometimes you can sense a shift in the weather. Days can still be hot. But you'll notice that somehow it's still something in the air is a bit different. Perhaps a little bit of that earring on the other side. Earlobe should be roughly there, right? And then this one can kind of swing out a little bit too. And it is a much heavier apparatus that we're working with, I think. When I was a kid, my mother once said, "Don't get your ears pierced. If you do, well, when you're not living here, you can do whatever you want." Well, I went and I got multiple earrings just to see what her reaction was, and she said, "Well, now you have holes in your head." And I don't know if I don't wear earrings anymore, but I think that was just to get a reaction, and that's fine. But a lot of people wear earrings, though. I'm not against most jewelry. I mean, if you see my other hand every so often, you'll see that I wear this silicone ring because I have the ability to work with my hands. And if I wear a metal ring and it gets caught on something, well, I don't need my finger torn off. So if you're letting a machine spin, well, you have to be careful of these things. That happens, I guess. Even the most careful people can have things fall out of their control. There are professionals who will find themselves doing whatever that thing is that they've done for so long in a bad situation. And that does happen. Professional drivers, let's say. Something could go wrong with the racetrack, or that does happen. Those who work in the woods, for example, arborists. When felling a tree, which is an interesting bit of turn of phrase, things can shift. The weight of the tree, there could be rot on one side. You don't always know. Things can happen, though. If you've been to this channel before, you probably heard me say this. I don't really think that there was a better time, which is an unusual statement. I don't think there was such a thing as the good old days. I think certain things might have been set up easier without frightening technology, perhaps. Just the advancements that we have now, though, we should have access to so much better. You know, there was a time if you cut your hand and you didn't have the use of antibiotics or peroxides or things like that, you would find yourself in trouble, and at some point in history, they would look at you and they would bring out a bone saw. And you can imagine a shot of whiskey and a bit of leather to bite down upon. And if you were lucky, you would pass out. Well, I guess there's that. I wonder about that, though. I don't really have a plan with what's going on here. I'll have to think about that. At first I was thinking perhaps this human would be picking an apple. But do I feel like that, though? I don't know. It's comedy, I suppose. I think I've gotten used to the idea that we have a connection to each other through technology. I made a comment recently with someone about music and how at one time the music that we listened to was very much produced by movement. So, for example, if you wanted to hear music, you would play an instrument. If you wanted to hear music, you would put something on that rotates. So it would be like a record. It would be, well, a reel-to-reel device with magnetic tape. But something had to move in order to have sound be picked up. Now, in the digital form, you don't need movement anymore. In fact, we very rarely get to see buttons on our devices. So there's a hepatic response, I think is what that's called, where you feel like a little shake. It's an interesting sound. I don't know if you can hear that. I think there's a bird outside. That's interesting. But the way your voice box works, your vocal cords, requires movement. Anyway, I'm just rambling on. Perhaps here I can add a not so much braid. Perhaps only we know that that's a braid. As I said, though, it happens once in a while. I just feel like drawing something. bit of shadow there. I can bring that out just a little bit. I don't know why focus seems to be something that struggles with me. Come on now. Now what I'll end up doing after a little bit is I'll probably turn this into a short. I know that very few people watch the long form videos. Not the worst thing. And I get it, attention spans and the like. For those of you that do watch the long form videos, firstly, thank you. Secondly, sorry that I ramble on about whatever sort of things. I don't really, well, it's not my intention to ramble on about some stuff. In truth, I don't plan out whatever it is I'm talking about. That's not really my thing. So just adding in the last little bits of detail. I like to think that every so often how good I have it in this life. And it's been pretty good. Of course, there's been moments of sadness and moments of joy. For example, I know somebody who's heading back to work in Asia, and it was great to have him around. I think that's a remarkable thing. Ooh, a little bit of ink on my fingertip there. So I had no idea that this drawing was going to pop out. I wasn't really planning that. But it's fun. I think something that popped in my head was, and I haven't watched any of it, and I'm not going to let this drag on too much longer. I'm just kind of playing around with whatever here. Someone had mentioned uh, a new house on the prairie or something like that. Well, I don't think this is in any way related to that. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, the double earring like this with that kind of large feathery looking thing, that's not something that would show up in that time and place. I'm going to add a bit more accent to some of these letters. For those of you who don't write in cursive, well, I think you should practice it. Of course, it says, "Are you receiving me?" which isn't really a complicated thing to read. The idea of cursive writing, I think, has to do with maintaining a flow and connecting letters to other letters in order to keep a word together. Otherwise, if you don't have the spacing right, then it would just be one line. So spaces are very important when it comes to printing and writing. The spaces. I don't know. Let's put a couple more wisps of hair moving a little bit. It doesn't have to be moving. I guess it could still be a calm day. We don't need more light than what's necessary. I don't need to cross-hatch this. Well, folks, I think that's all I feel like doing with this, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Yeah. Feel free to leave me a comment. Let me know about what cool things you're up to, or whatever you feel like. I'll do my best to respond. But I think this is kind of the run of it. Really, I'm just scratching out the final bits and pieces of texture or nothing really needed more than that, I don't think. All right. It's too bad phones don't have an antenna on them anymore. All right, folks. Have a great day. Ciao for now.